Good morning, and thank you for waking up with us today and joining us for Focus on South Texas. I'm your host, Camilla Rambaldi. Our first guest up today is UT Health San Antonio, and I have here Dr. Seshadri as well as Dr. Carol White with UT Health San Antonio. I understand, Carol, you are a nursing professor, and Dr. Seshadri, you are a neurology professor at UT Health San Antonio. How are you guys today?
Great.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming on the show. We're here to talk about a really important topic in our community, Alzheimer's. I know, obviously, this is a huge impact on people living in San Antonio. But I'll start with you, Dr. Seshadri. I understand the Biggs Institute here in San Antonio provides so many resources for studying the disease and what type of care is available. Can you talk to us a little bit about the Institute?
Absolutely, and good morning, and thank you, Camilla, and good morning to your listeners out there for giving me this opportunity to share this new institute we're building within the UT Health Science Center San Antonio. This is going to be a comprehensive Alzheimer Institute. We are already looking after patients throughout, from the earliest stage to the most advanced disease, and also doing cutting-edge research. So a state, city, and national resource.
And a little bit of background, who was Glenn Biggs? Obviously, he is the individual this institute has been named after.
So Glenn Biggs was a son of San Antonio, very important contributions to its economic development as well as to philanthropic causes. And unfortunately, in 2013, he developed Alzheimer's, found it hard to get comprehensive care, and his passion and vision, he went to Dr. William Henrich, the president of UTHSA and a good friend and admirer of Glenn Biggs, and said, we need to build this in San Antonio. And so his friends and others helped raise the money and recruit me and recruit others. Build upon the resources already there at UTHSA in terms of basic research to bring quality clinical care and integrate it.
And I'm assuming, obviously, through the number of years, the research has obviously expanded and there's been new findings. What is something that is really new right now that you guys are looking over and reviewing?
You know, we know Alzheimer's is a very big problem. There are, it's about 5.7 million people affected with the disease. Mm-hmm. And Texas has the third largest number of people with Alzheimer's, second in deaths due to Alzheimer's, partly because Texas has about 40% Hispanics. And Hispanics have about a 40% higher risk of developing Alzheimer's, but we don't know why. In South Texas, this is even more germane. And so there's a lot of interest now in understanding why last 20 years, since 2003, we haven't had treatments for Alzheimer's. Some of this is because everybody can't be treated the same way. We need to understand what is important in each person and perhaps give them a cocktail of medications tailored to that. So the new interest is in the precision approach. This really means that everybody at risk and everybody who's a patient also be a research partner, and everybody who's looking after somebody with Alzheimer's also be a research partner. And my colleague, Dr. White, is really focusing on this caregiver.
And that brings me to my next question. I'll move on to you, Dr. Carol White. What are some of the latest, I know we talked about some of the latest treatments for Alzheimer's disease, but what is it like to be in this field and seeing some of the latest developments?
So I think for family caregivers, it's a role that completely changes the family once someone is diagnosed with Alzheimer's. It's not only a disease that affects the individual, but it has long-lasting changes for all of the family. And so what we know is that most patients with Alzheimer's continue to live in the community, but it's because of the work of their families who provide over 80% of the care that patients need, or people with memory loss or Alzheimer's, to remain in the caregiving within the community. And we know the impact of this caregiving role. There's research for decades really on the impact for the family caregiver. Caregivers are at risk for depression. They're at risk for physical health problems, for anxiety. Caregivers give up their employment to stay home and care for their loved ones, so they have financial risk. And then they're also socially isolated because they're unable to leave their loved one alone at home. So the caregiver role has a big impact for the family caregiver.
What is some advice or some tools that you can share with us for those caregivers or for those family members that are maybe starting to see those initial signs of Alzheimer's? What is the first thing that they should do?
So if they're seeing the signs, I think it's to get some medical advice, to see their family doctor, to get a referral to a specialist. As they get a diagnosis for the caregiver and the caregiver transitions into the role, I think sometimes caregivers think the most important thing they should be doing is care for their loved one. But first of all, the caregiver has to care for themselves. If he or she doesn't care for themselves, they're not going to be able to continue to care for their loved one. And it's important to be able to know what are the resources that are available, to also to educate themselves, to learn about the disease, to learn about the progression, so that they can plan early for the role they're taking on.
And what are some, I forgot to ask, what are some of those initial signs that someone may start noticing?
So there are a range of signs, and they blend into things that happen to us as we grow older. And that's why it's important to talk to your doctor and not panic if you occasionally forget where the car keys are. But if people are repeated, if the most important thing is a change from what the person used to be. And if they have trouble repeating the same stories, if they are forgetting appointments that were important to them, if they are misplacing things that normally they would not, these are all signs. Sometimes finding the right words can be a sign. Sometimes they can be physical signs such as falling or feeling dizzy. There are a larger range of treatments available now than ever before, things that attack different aspects of the disease. And so being part of clinical trials is really helpful so that we can hasten the cure.
And what's so great is people here in San Antonio can participate in those clinical trials. How can people sign up, and is there a specific time period of when these are made available?
We are beginning within the next month. We hope to be able to enroll people, but right now there's a phone number, or on the website, that's biggsinstitute.org, there is a button where they can say what kind of trials they're interested in, whether it's for assessing and preventing development of dementia, or for treating people with early disease, and so on.
Absolutely, and of course we'll have that information on foxsanantonio.com, and I thank you so much for all that information. I want to go back to Dr. White. I understand that there is a caregiver program also here in San Antonio that's really important. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes, it's called the Caring for the Caregiver Program, and we're working in collaboration with the Biggs Institute. Comprehensive care for a person with dementia means caring for the family caregiver. So we offer bi-weekly education classes to prepare the caregiver for taking on the role, and to identify the resources in the city that they'll need for them on this journey. We also have a hands-on skills training in our simulation center at the School of Nursing, where caregivers actually learn the skills that they need. It's a multidisciplinary team. We have occupational therapy, dental, nutrition, speech therapy, and nursing that work with caregivers and tailor what their specific needs are. We also offer the virtual dementia tour, which is an empathy training to help the caregiver. It kind of tricks the brain so that the caregiver is unsure of their surroundings, to kind of simulate what it might be like to have some dementia. So it offers the caregiver some empathy in what their loved one is going through.
We also have this Dialogues on Dementia program, which is a public lecture where people can meet our physicians, our psychologists, as well as top visiting researchers to ask their questions and discuss, because we are very much looking for feedback from the community on what their needs are to provide this kind of comprehensive care and research.
And like you mentioned, Dr. White, earlier, the importance of the caregiver also taking care of themselves in that process of caring for their loved one. And the good news is there's going to be a caregiver skills training workshop coming up in June, on June 14th. Is there going to be more workshops throughout the summer, or is this the only one that's going to be
If you
available?
go to the website, there are very frequent workshops.
And so our website is utcaregivers.org, and you'll see them announced. They're also on the BIGS
the BIGS
website. We collaborate very closely, but we offer the skills training monthly. We offer the classes every 2 weeks, so they would just need to see them and sign up for them, which they're because of generous donations, we're able to offer these free of charge to the caregivers.
Well, we're about to go to break, but I want to say thank you, Dr. White and Dr. Seshadri, for coming on the show and sharing this great information on Alzheimer's disease. And if you at home want to learn more about this and find out more resources, just head to foxsanantonio.com. Coming up in just a few minutes, above average heat temperatures came early this year. What you need to know to protect you and your family.